And welcome back to the CJ and Hiller Time podcast presented by True Health Company. This is our third episode, specifically talking about questions about nutrition today. Again, our goal with this podcast is three things. Cole and I spend quality time having meaningful conversations, share our stories of living lifestyle that prioritizes health while still chasing goals in everyday life, and share our unique perspective of having careers in healthcare and how that impacts the way we view life, health, and life overall. Send us your questions about any healthcare related questions or life related, and we'd love to see how our experiences in life can help you or somebody you know. Nutrition, overarching topic today, and how we, how do we eat healthy anyway? That's kind of the big thing. But first, what's been going on the last month with you, Cole, and in regards to challenges? Doesn't have to be specific to nutrition.
Nutrition, physical challenge this month. True Health is doing Track Your Miles challenge. So I put out there, I'm going to get 100 running miles in this month.
Oh,
Turns out that's a lot of miles. I think I have maybe 50 this year until July 1st.
all right. Doubling it.
So on the start of July, I hit the ground running, literally, and it felt good. And then my ankle blew up. I made it 36 miles 15 days in, so I was a little bit behind. I thought I was going to catch up, and so had to change pace a little bit. The rest of the month is going to be one running mile is 1 mile, or 2 biking miles is 1 running mile. So I'm still going to try to hit 100. I just have to bike twice as far with the remaining miles to get the total in. So a little change of pace kind of sucks. I've been out for about a week with a bum ankle, but we're adapting, changing it, and going to do it anyway. So
Good thing you
that's
live with
our
a physical
challenge for the month.
therapist.
What'd you say?
There's a thankful you live with a physical therapist,
Right? Yeah.
and you
You'd think I
are
don't.
one yourself.
Yeah, you'd think I'd take care of myself pretty good, but I tell people all day, every day, I would be a terrible patient. I just put it off. I know it'll get better and just kind of push through it anyway. So don't take my own advice. See a PT.
Yeah, I'd take
How about
dang
you?
good care of you. Yes. So Dakota and I, we did the Whole30 challenge, uh, for personal reasons, but I said I'd do it with Dakota. It was her idea, and it was very hard.
That's hard.
And for those of our listeners who don't know what Whole30 is, I can make it very basic for you. It's no added sugar, no processed food, no grains, no dairy, no alcohol. Very restrictive, very hard.
Super. Super.
People are like, "Oh, it's like keto," and I'm like, "Yeah, keto on steroids." It's They don't recommend training for anything big while on it because of how restrictive it is, and it's a really shock to your system.
How'd you do?
So, go ahead.
How'd you do?
I made it.
Yeah?
Yesterday was the last day.
Nice.
Um, the added challenge was 4th of July and all the traveling that we did in the last month to see family.
Hmm.
So we did something we've never done before. We packed a cooler of snacks
Nice.
because gas stations don't have accommodating things.
Not at all.
Nothing is on the list. So that was a challenge in itself, and it was good. Most days consisted of potatoes. They're a starch and a protein, a lean protein, and then fruits and vegetables.
Nice.
So that was every day, and I didn't feel full most of the time.
Yeah. You're hungry for you're hungry for
Yeah,
30 days.
yeah.
I'll put it out there. I have never completed by the book rules, follow the rules to a T Whole30. I haven't been able to do it. I struggle eating enough anyway, and once
Yeah.
I take away some of those things, some of those carb sources, some of those other like protein sources, like it's tough. So I mean, hats off to you finishing it and completing it. And again, I at the end of the day, I always say like it's 30 days. I think I can do it, but I never have. So it's tough. It's hard, but
And
you
it's
definitely learn
mentally.
a lot too.
Yeah,
I think more than anything, it kind of exposes like how difficult it is to eat healthy in a sense, right? Like all you're trying to do is eat whole food with like one simple ingredient per food, right? And
exactly.
that's what you're trying to do, but you go to the gas station, you can't find that. You travel, you can't find that. You go over a holiday, you can't find that. And so I think one thing the Whole 30 definitely does is exposes how challenging it is to eat simply.
Yes. And
So
simple is the right word. What was very beneficial for what Dakota and I found is we through this because it's weird for people like families when they see like why aren't you eating this? So they inquired about what we are doing, and so we educated family a lot of just having them simply look at the ingredients and not the front of the box. So I guess I got a little bit of I became annoying because they're like they're like eating a box of wheat thins and it says 100% whole grain, and I was like, look at the ingredients, see what the second ingredient is in there. It's high fructose corn syrup.
right.
And they're like, all right, we had enough. I don't want to know what's in anything else. But I'm like, see, like you don't. I'm like, that's the thing. We're not even thinking about what we're consuming. We don't even
Right.
have a second thought. But if you
Yeah.
look on the back, you're like, that's what I'm ingesting.
Right, for sure. I'm laughing because my family is thinking like that is me. That's I'm the annoying one for sure. So,
But
but yeah, for
if
sure,
you
it
keep
definitely makes you
being
aware.
persistent, they're going to eventually go into a grocery store one day and they're going to pick up something that they want and they will look at the back and they go, oh,
Yeah,
maybe I don't want it that bad.
for sure, and that ties in really well to our first question, like how and why did you start eating healthy, or all have you always? Because that's what it's always like a turning point for somebody. Somebody has to walk into the store and make the decision to buy the food, to eat the food.
Yeah.
So, like, when did you start or why did you start eating healthy?
I would say when I became more educated in nursing school and when I was living by myself. When you're growing up living with mom and dad, you just eat whatever they make because they're making the money and putting food on the table, and I come home and eat. I'm also a garbage disposal, so I will eat anything. Um, but I really wanted to set Dakota and I really want to set an example for our families. So making those hard choices of saying no to things, and then explaining why. Um, so that's kind of the why. How we do it is very small changes, one at a time,
Mm-hmm.
not drastic. Like Whole 30 is drastic. You know,
Mm-hmm.
one day you wake up and you just literally wipe out over half of your calorie where you normally get your calories. This we're kind
Not
of thinking,
recommended.
okay, yeah, not don't. Yeah, it's a reason why it's only 30 days. It's not sustainable.
Right.
Um, so yeah, listeners, don't do that, especially if you're on medications. You make sure you talk with your doctor before you make a huge change like that. And then just being more food conscious is how we become more healthy.
Yeah.
Like we were talking, when we pick something up at the grocery store, every time now we've made it a habit. Now we pick it up, turn it around, see what's in it.
Mm-hmm.
If we can't pronounce or don't even know what it is,
Mhm.
we usually don't get it. But at the same time, I could open it up to you about sometimes cheap, people, it can get expensive, and that kind of runs into butts heads with people trying to eat healthy.
Mhm. For sure.
So I would say, probably been eating healthier longer than I have. So what got you started?
Um, I was always a like yo eat healthy person. Like I thought for the most part, like I ate relatively healthy,
Mhm.
and I was told that, and our grocery store shopping like backed that up, but body composition didn't change. Still wasn't super making progress on specific things like physically. And then actually, so I was always back and forth. I'd do a really strict diet for 2 weeks and then let myself slip and then eat a package of Oreos. And so it always ended up being like, I was like, oh, I'm 80/20. You hear that all the time, like eat 80/20. 80/20 is like a lot of good eating. Like
Yep.
I was probably closer to like 60/40. And so the thing that got me eating healthy and stay eating healthy was I got super, super sick for like multiple days off of dairy, is what it ended up being. So sick that like I didn't touch dairy. I was terrified of it for over a year, probably more, in the sense of kind of like you, like if I would read the back of the ingredients list and it was like down at the bottom like skim milk and it had nothing to do with what was in the package, like I wouldn't touch it because I didn't want to get sick again. And so I just dove into like why. I had to understand why I got sick, and because of that, that allowed me to be super disciplined on the diet because I was terrified whatever I put in my body was going to make me sick again. And like, was it a long period of time? No. Was it like super negative experience for myself? Yeah, it sucked. And so that's where I actually like, I was almost like scared into eating healthy
Hmm.
because I ended up eating healthy long enough that I was like, okay, maybe I can try dairy again, or like,
Hmm.
and so then I just got super picky and I still like to this day, that was 2019. So going on 4 years now of mostly being scared into eating good, I wouldn't really think anything of it before
Hmm.
that. Um, and so that was the biggest thing for me. And then now you talk about small changes over time, like 2019, Kelly and I gave up alcohol for the year. It was like a 90% financial decision because we were broke. We just got out of school and had no money and moved,
Hmm.
and so it was a 90% financial decision. And then we made it the whole year. Didn't touch alcohol, and to this day, it's really changed my relationship with alcohol. Like I could count on, maybe two hands since that time on how many times I've had it. And then this year, you talk about staring at labels and stuff. This year, we've given up added sugar for the year. And those small, consistent changes is really what's helped us stick. Like, we're halfway through July. We've made it 7 months, almost 8 months in, and that's been huge. Reading labels, being aware, just a small little challenge of like that's the only rule: no added sugar.
Hmm.
And if we go out to eat, do we mess it up? Yeah, probably, but we don't see the label, so it didn't
Hmm.
happen, right? But I've felt better. I've been more consistent than I have been in a long time, just with setting like that one black and white rule. So it's been cool. That's kind of the why for me, and then the how is long term goals, small changes. Same thing you're just saying, but that's definitely been my experience with it.
So you had something happen to you that triggered a change to be
Right.
able to eat
Triggered the
healthy.
consistency for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And really like dove into a rabbit hole of like, I don't want to feel like this. And honestly, kind of backs up a lot of, True Health Company and like just trying to build a relationship with people and those people building a relationship with food. Because I've been there. If you have a terrible relationship with food, you kind of have a terrible relationship with a lot of other things because
Mhm.
you kind of got to eat a lot,
Yep.
throughout your day, throughout your week, throughout your month in order to live a good life. And if you have a bad relationship there and there's a lot of anxiousness and anxiety and frustration with that over and over and over again, it's going to bleed into those other areas of your life too.
Hmm. So when you mentioned something about when you go to the grocery store and eating healthy, and sometimes the grocery store doesn't like. You said what you were buying somewhat reflected that you were eating healthy, but not everything that the grocery store promises you that you take home that they say is healthy is actually healthy. So when you go shopping,
Mm-hmm.
what are you looking for? And more specifically, what are you filling your cart with? Now, our next question refers to, and I want you to hit on it in regards to macros. So when you have that in the back of your mind, the macros when you're going shopping, what do you
Mm-hmm.
fill in your cart?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. And a great place for people to start is to understand, how to get food, how to grocery shop. The big thing for us is how we go around the grocery store, right? And it sounds simple, but if you lay out any grocery store that you've ever walked in, if you walk around the perimeter and the perimeter only, you can picture in your head the grocery store you go to every week. There's going to be produce, right? Fruits and vegetables as soon as you walk in the door. You keep going, there's going to be the bakery section, right? Which has some really good donuts and stuff there, but also has bread, right? And fresh bread. Um, to add on to the carbs, if we're sticking with that, the produce, fruits, veggies, carbs, get back into the bakery, get some bread, carbs. The meat counter in the back, right? Meat counter in the back of every store. Um, is your protein for the week. And then you get over into like milk, cheese, if you can handle that, eggs. Um, and that's kind of, to the extent, what you need. And that trip around the outside of the grocery store really exposes a lot. If you think about it, walking up and down the aisles is all boxes and cans and bags of stuff, right? And you go back to that ingredients list, all the ingredients are in those aisles, right? All the whole foods, all the real stuff, all the fresh stuff is around the outside, right? Um, so that's the first thing is just again the awareness. How do I eat healthy anyway? Well, start with just walking around the outside of the grocery store and taking that whole middle section of the grocery store out of the picture altogether. And there might, we walk up and down the aisles, we still get some oatmeal. There's still things we get. I'm not trying to be, as strict as possible. But for the most part, we walk into the grocery store, we fill that cart right away with as much fruits and vegetables as possible. Like, if we need a snack, that's what we eat. If we need something to go with lunch, that's what we eat. If we need something before bed, like it's fruits or vegetables right away, and mostly fruits for us. And then we grab some sourdough bread, and we have found that we can consistently grab sourdough bread and it doesn't have added sugar. Prior to this year, I didn't necessarily eat a lot of sourdough bread, but now I eat it by the loaf every week.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really good. There's few ingredients in it. There's no added sugar, and so we can be consistent with it. And then when we get to the back, for me personally, and Kelly too, like we eat ground beef like crazy. Like we just stack up on that. We'll get some chicken or some fish too, but really ground beef is by the pound, by the 10 pounds if it's a good deal.
Mm-hmm.
But that's consistently what we grind up. Have ground beef nearly every night because it's easy, it's consistent, it's got a lot of protein, it's got some fat in it. Um, and then for us, we have added dairy, hard cheeses, and then I don't necessarily drink milk or straight milk. Like my stomach doesn't do well with that. But the hard cheeses I can get away with, and yogurt too. And those two dairy products are nice because they don't have a ton of ingredients. They're pretty straightforward. They don't have added sugar for me. They're high protein, high fat, or high protein. You know, the cheese has some fat in it. But that right there is like what our cart's filled with. Um, and no matter what grocery store we go into, we know that stuff's going to be there too.
Yeah.
And so that makes it pretty simple.
Yeah, don't overcomplicate it.
Right. And that's what's nice is like we know that if we go like okay, you know, you talk about the Whole30 being like very restrictive. Like we're not saying, you know, honestly you probably need more calories than you think. Double up on the apples, double up on the, you know, and they're a couple dollars a pound. Like we get into that price point piece too. Like if you fill yourself up on an apple, that's gonna last, right? And you can spend 20 some bucks on a box of protein bars too, and that will do the same thing. But we go back to the ingredients list, right? And so it's just this trade-off of like where are you at and where do you want to go. You don't have to do it all at the same time, but just being more aware of what you're picking up and why you're picking it up it can go a long way because you start to question yourself, you start to ask questions, and that's really all we're looking for in this.
Yes, asking why am I picking this up, why am I eating this, and I think that is a good start to asking questions about what we're consuming. You mentioned Whole30 again, and just want to reference back to Dakota, and I saw a ginormous shift in thought process about going out to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Because Whole30, so I didn't mention this earlier, but only healthy oils too.
Mm.
So
yeah,
coconut, avocado, and olive were the only three.
Yeah, and when you're out to eat, you don't know what
they
has
don't
oil.
make it in that stuff unless they specifically say it. So
right.
It was such a hassle going out to eat because you couldn't find anything that you could eat. So it shifted our thought process, and what we would look on the internet with Whole30, what could we make at home? And that was like the continuous thought of, okay, what are we hungry for? Well, we kind of want something like tacos. What can we make at home? And so that is Whole30 helped us out with that a lot. We went out to eat once. It was not a good experience.
Yeah.
They had two things on the menu that we could get.
Mm-hmm.
The one I wanted, they didn't have any left. The one Dakota had, when it was brought to the table, had dressing on it, like a ranch dressing. She's a no-go with ranch dressing.
Right.
So I ended up eating half of hers and mine. And it was just a big salad with not very good lettuce and other stuff. But it just shifted our mindset to now we think about what we can make at home. And Dakota found a recipe for healthy cake, well, like a chocolate muffin cake thing.
Nice.
And it was apples, bananas, almond butter, baking soda, honey, and cocoa powder.
Nice. Nice.
And
yeah,
so that was
you get
our
creative with that sweet
treat.
tooth, huh?
Yeah. Dakota's the sweet tooth.
Yeah. Oh, that's me, and that's added sugar for me has been wild. You talk about that a little bit too. The biggest realization for us with no added sugar is like we would always fall into sugar, sweet, ice cream, cookies, cake. Like that's my go-to. So taking that away, now it's like Surprisingly, chips don't have added sugar most of the time, right? If you get them relatively plain, like just
Yeah.
salted, no added sugar. Um, Pasta, no added sugar. Um, there's been a couple other things that it's like, huh, like no added sugar in this, so technically we can eat it, But then in the past we didn't eat much pasta, but now we probably eat more of it. Because rules are rules for us, and that's not a big deal. But
Yeah.
it's been interesting to see what kind of processed foods and like those salty snacks, the pastas, stuff like that, have not had added sugar in them. Breads, and so we've still been able to get away with that, just kind of a different route than we normally would. So
Yeah.
it's been interesting for sure.
It's a healthier source of energy.
Right.
Gonna last longer for you. Um, you were talking about going around the store. Ground beef, chicken, fish are your primary sources of protein. Um, when I think of protein, I call it triple P for like how I prioritize uh, my plate. I
Okay.
I say prioritize protein and produce.
Okay.
So I fill my plate 3/4 protein, produce, fruits, and veggies. Most of us like one over the other more. Who's team fruit? Who's team veggies? I love veggies when they're seasoned right, so I like to fill my plate up with that, and then a carb source. Protein, your three sources, is super important. But how important is protein? Like, what's the big deal about protein? Everybody talks about it. Nutrition industry, supplement industry gets us to buy powders of it. Yeah, okay. They make it's a big deal.
Right. For sure. Um, yeah. Prioritize protein and produce. Triple P. I like it. That's cool. And just a different way to think about it too, and make yourself aware. So if you haven't caught on to this episode, apparently it's all about awareness of what you eat.
Yes.
So jumping into that pea protein, why is it that important, and why is it important? Like, I think people can sell protein and powders and bars and stuff because we're so underdosed on protein as a whole that people need convenient ways to increase that number. The issue is instead of using it as a supplement, meaning in addition to, meaning adding to your normal diet, people just do it instead of a breakfast. It's like, oh, I don't eat breakfast. I just have a protein shake. It's okay. Well, that's not a supplement. That's breakfast. And
Mhm.
you had a supplement. You turned it into a meal, which isn't a bad thing if then you're getting all of the protein. The problem is most people could have a high protein breakfast, have the shake later as like a snack, and still have lunch because they're so underdosed on protein. And so that's why I think the convenience of bars and powders is so successful. It's just not being utilized as an in addition to, it's being used as a in place of.
Yes. I want to touch on what you just talked about.
Yeah.
My experience when I take care of patients who had surgery, the doctors always tell them to increase the amount of protein that they're eating
Mm-hmm.
because, like you said, we underdose.
Mm-hmm.
So, when you say underdose, what is it under? What should the dose be for somebody based on, I
Yeah,
guess, lifestyle?
for sure. For sure. One spot that would be a good place to start is 100 grams of protein. If you don't know what that is, there's apps out there. You can take pictures, you can upload your phone, you can call us. Like, it doesn't need to be difficult, right? but I say 100 grams because people probably have a hard time hitting that 100 grams. Honestly, I'm almost 190 about. I should be getting my body weight in protein. Which is double saying like people should try to get 100. You should be trying to get way more than that because of the important functions that it has within the body, and you're not even giving it the body the right tools to do their job.
Yep.
So getting to 100 consistently would be a really good goal. And I'm somebody that got a nutrition coach. Like, I worked with Taylor on and off for 2 years because I was under eating myself. I was always tired. I was always crashing at the end of the week, and it was because I wasn't eating enough. And she helped me over time, like, get up into that goal range. And I felt like a totally different person. And I was 27, 28, working out, thinking I felt good. So you talk about somebody after surgery that's deconditioned. You try to stack not enough protein in that picture, and it's a struggle. So you can change giving your body the fuel to do what it's supposed to do, especially after like a trauma like that, is going to be game changer for people. But trying to hit that 100 grams and then going up from there based on your goals and your body weight is super important. And I think people just don't realize how important it is.
And people, like, I mean, 100 grams seems like a lot, but like anything, you got to break it up. So break it up into 3 meals.
Mm-hmm.
Eat breakfast. Get your day started with protein. So at the back half of your day, you're not trying to make up for it.
Right.
And if you want, like, you want to know like how much, what does 100 grams look like, or what does that divided by 3 look like? There's phenomenal resources online that reference your hand and the size of your palm of a size of a serving of protein and how much that is. I'm blanking on it, so I don't want to say it wrong, but I think it's like 25 to 30 grams, and that's a good place. Like three of those 3 meals, that's 90. That's almost there. Then you could supplement the last little bit at the end to help
Right. Then
to
you
help
add
round it
in.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, then you'd have it. But that's a good place to start. I agree. 100, because most of us are, if we have to get 1 gram per pound of body weight, we're not even close.
No.
And that's why we feel tired, and we don't see our gains happening, and then we work out, but we feel injury prone because we're tearing down our muscles. That's what we do when we work out. We tear them down. Now we need to rebuild them with what we fuel our body with and sleep. So
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think in my world, in the PT world, we're underdosed, meaning even when we do exercise, we don't do enough weight, we don't do enough load, we don't do enough intensity, to the masses as far as exercise goes. And then we're underdosed massively on protein. So if you want a super simple recipe to feel better, look better, perform better, live better, stop underdosing protein and underdosing load, right? And so add in weights safely, add in lifting, add in weight training, get comfortable with it, find somebody that can teach you, and also up your protein. Increase your dose on protein, increase your dose on lifting and load, and you'd solve a lot of your problems.
and if they want to know how to do that, they just go to True Health Company.
Send us a message on Instagram and we will get started tomorrow. And that's the big thing is like the number of people that we've worked with that just start, that's it. Like there's no huge goals. There's just conversations of starting, and then the next time we talk, you start again, and that can turn into something. But how many times people think they're going to start and don't, or know what to do and don't know what to do, and have no awareness, if we say that word one more time on this episode, like, just improve your awareness, improve your accountability. Like, let's change who you are as a person because you start to pay attention to these things. And it's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. So I think understanding a lot of this stuff, and like this episode, I mean, it's worth the listen right here, right now. Like, I'll say it because it's action steps. It's what is it, and what do I do about it? And I think we've hit home on that with the grocery shopping, the where you need to be with your protein. We threw in a little like weight training is important there, and then what the heck is eating healthy, and we all start somewhere. And I think those are three big factors that can hit home and help make progress for sure.
Good. I just want to end on, if you need anything, like I want to reiterate, reach out to True Health Company. They could help change your environment. Sometimes that's the good first start, getting the junk out of the house so you stop staring at it, and you won't less tempted to grab it and eat it.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'll finish on the same thing. Like, you got to start somewhere, but you just got to start. Find a friend, find a family member, get yourself accountable, set some goals, set some rules, like black and white rules. Either you follow them or you don't.
Yep.
And then don't let yourself down. And you just have to keep doing that over and over and over again. And that's us getting on here chatting about this, is to talk about that, talk about like what we've struggled with, what we've had success with, and just to say, like, it can be done. You just don't have to do it alone.
Correct. So we're here for that open line of communication.
For sure. We hit nutrition pretty hard, and maybe next month we'll hit on some exercise and keep people moving down that path.
Yeah, for sure. All right, it's been a pleasure.
Awesome. Finish out July strong.
Yes. Have a good one.
See ya.